Okay, what just happened? The player isn't supposed to be able to stand on a wall. In fact, the player's bounding box is typically constrained to never rotate. But here, I've removed that restriction and effectively turned the player into a standard physics prop. You'll also notice that all other props fall along with the player. The player's orientation decides where gravity is pointing, or in other words, your feet decide where down is. To make things more interesting, going through a portal in any orientation will force you to fall from the exit portal. This essentially means that going through portals redirects the player's gravity. Oh, and would you look at that, we've arrived at the title of the video. Unless I changed it, in which case this would be pretty awkward. The first level of Portal 2 starts with a 5-minute cutscene. That, combined with the fact that the puzzle it presents is incredibly simple and boring, is a good enough reason to skip it and instead start the run on the second level. Before we gain access to the portal gun, we're forced to use the pre-placed portals to navigate around the chambers. For the most part, that's just a bit annoying, but this puzzle in particular splits off the exit door from the button which opens it. The only way to get there is by using a couple of those wall-mounted portals. And if you've been following along during the first minute of the video, you'll notice that this is a problem. Once I go through this portal, I'm oriented to face the wall in front of it, which causes the cube to fall off the button. The solution to this is about what you'd expect. I spent an hour nudging the player around to control the cube remotely and get it on the button. Right after that is where we get the portal gun. I knew the fall into the hallway under the broken pedestal was going to be rough given the circumstances, so I broke the floor ahead of time and tried my best to go down as smoothly as possible. Yippee! Yep, thought so. Okay, that wasn't that bad. Could have been way worse. But even after picking up the portal gun, I couldn't just use the blue portal yet. Orange isn't really facing a flat wall, so I'm just sent flying once I go through. I had to instead find another way around. The rest of the map was relatively fine after that, as I could just walk on walls wherever portals weren't an option. Then comes the first actual puzzle of this run. I solved the first part as normally as I could, though for the second room I did have to go through a portal to get the second cube. That's nothing horrible, but at this point I hadn't yet gotten as used to controlling my movement as I would have liked. And the next couple of maps were equally simple puzzles, which could, for the most part, be solved in an intended-ish manner. You'd think that this would be cause for concern. Have I made a mod that's simply too easy to be interesting? But no, Future Starter did provide a couple of issues. Firstly, the cube was simply not there in the first room, presumably because it clipped through the ground when the map loaded in. But we resolved that by pretending it was never an issue. Secondly, the cube wouldn't always stay on the button in the second room if you tried to fling yourself to the exit. The solution was to instead run up the wall and jump into the door before the cube had time to roll off. We then picked up Wheatley, while standing on a wall of course, plugged him in, and woke up GLaDOS and the rest of the facility. There's not much to write home about here, but once I got dumped into the incinerator, the cutscene didn't exactly play as per usual. Instead, you have to climb down the shaft yourself, which, I mean, come on, that's pretty cool. The incinerator is also the first level where we get to properly play around with this mechanic, since we get the dual portal gun and a few very portable hallways to work with. For the most part, everything went down pretty smoothly. I also tried skipping the first puzzle of Chapter 2 somehow, but it turned out to be much easier to just solve it as intended. The map after that though? Yeah, you could just walk up this wall to reach the exit, so that's getting skipped. I found that, unsurprisingly, the toughest part of these puzzles is simply keeping the elements in place while I make my way over to the exit. If I don't have to worry about that and simply have to find a way to get from point A to point B, the puzzles suddenly become a lot easier. This tech isn't exactly untethered movement, it's actually incredibly clumsy, but being able to fall towards the exit door does make things simpler. In other news, faith plates do not work. It's kind of unsurprising really, I am pushing the game's physics to their limits here, but it's also not much of a bother for those who can walk on walls. Cubes seem to get catapulted just fine, but I can just as easily modify their trajectory as well. The next map after that continues to employ faith plates as the key element, and I continue to completely ignore that part of the puzzle just the same. Thankfully, this map has a very flat and open ceiling, which makes for a nice highway as an alternative to flinging. Oh, and if you're rushing to the comments to make a Spider-Man pun, my only ask is that you make it somewhat original. The livestream chat already had a head start. Anyway, it turns out that faith plates don't work on these cubes either. Instead, I hijacked the cube dropper so I could grab one myself and escorted it to the exit on foot. Bitflings, the companion cube level, meets the unfortunate fate of having an open exit door from the very start. I didn't even have to touch the cube on this one. Some of you might see that as a crime, but with the foresight of what happens to it if you do take it along, I'm sure this is the better option for the both of us. There's not much to say about Fizzler intro, but the start of chapter 3 is much more interesting than that, so let's see what happened there. This is Ceiling Catapult, a fairly average puzzle on paper, though also one that's typically a nightmare when you least expect it. Getting to the main part of the chamber was trivially easy, so was getting the cube. Finishing the map, on the other hand, well, that's a different story. Here's what this chamber looks like in its solved state. You have a cube passing a laser through a couple of portals, which you're expected to place after you fling to the exit. I'm sure you can start to see the problem here. Any method of getting to the exit will move the cube away from its neat lineup with the wall, making the chamber impossible to solve from the exit door. The solution here was annoying, though not unlike what we did for Portal Carousel, simply nudging the cube from a distance again and again until it ends up in a workable spot. Oh, wait, that could work. That could work. Hold on, I'm making a save here. That could work. Please. Yes! Oh, goodness. No! Just nudge it a little bit. Yes! Oh, that worked! We're through! Luckily, the map after that was a walk in the park in comparison. Almost literally, since all it took to solve was to grab the cube and waddle over to the exit. The next level introduces light bridges, which aren't really a complication of any kind. If anything, the biggest obstacle here was the break I took from playing this mod. This map should be fairly simple, I think. Should just be... Oh, right, I forgot. Oh, I forgot the main gimmick, chat. Oh, I'm stupid. I'm really dumb. Oh, this is the wrong mod. In fact, at one point I realized that the bridge wasn't strictly necessary, so I decided to challenge myself by not using it, which was, wouldn't you know it, a lot more interesting. Actually, come to think of it, from this point onward, I kind of just picked up this habit of solving the puzzles in deliberately more difficult but interesting ways. Just because I could, really. I worked out how to get the cube to fall to this wall, and later found that I could just fall to the exit platform if I placed my portals right. Oh, right. The turrets are all gonna be dead, just from me walking up the stairs. That's not fun. Yeah, I like how all turrets are just immediately gone as soon as I enter a level. I mean, no, these guys are alive. I think you can start to notice a pattern here. Turrets are by design incredibly flimsy. The first turret you encounter in Portal 2 is actually internally labeled Tippy the Turret, and is scripted to fall over once you walk past it, suggesting that they're trivially easy to knock over. This becomes even more apparent in an environment with constant gravity-defying earthquakes. Also, I like how I've got literal bullet holes now in the box. That's kind of silly. But even though turrets didn't cause any problems here, on this level in particular, the laser cube just doesn't appear. This is likely caused by the mod's janky physics, so I did allow myself to spawn in a replacement. Then came a level which is typically solved by shooting a portal from the exit platform. This shouldn't be an issue. This didn't have to be an issue, but of course, with my luck, this was an issue, because there's a horribly inconvenient invisible wall preventing physics props from entering the exit platform. And since this challenge is basically me cosplaying a physics prop, that's a problem. Removing this wall, however, reveals that the platform itself isn't even solid to physics props. In retrospect, this all makes sense. I can't really blame Valve map designers for not foreseeing that one day someone will try to beat their game as an upright walking metal crate. The solution was painful but predictable, climbing up the walls to reach the exit and then fixing the position of the cube by carefully tilting gravity from afar. The start of Chapter 4 features another map with a light bridge as the central focus, and a turret that doesn't survive past the first... Oh, no, never mind, it somehow ended up here. Anyway, I once again opted to not use the light bridge for getting the cubes, but oddly enough, the hardest part of this map was actually getting those cubes to stay in place. The laser relay lineup here spans a pretty long distance, and given how shaky the world gets once you let a single box control all of gravity, this really was like trying to keep composure in the middle of an earthquake. I mean, just look at that, that's laser focus right there. As if it couldn't get any worse, the next map has even longer laser chains, spanning platforms accessible only via portals. Each part of this chain had to be done separately and without disturbing any previous progress. This was the closest I'd gotten to true despair. Even when I had finally lined everything up enough for the exit door to open, there was no way for me to get there without completely messing up this intricate contraption. This is the only level I outright skipped due to a complete lack of options. Guys, there's something wrong with my gravitational constant. This next section of the game is very catwalk oriented, which is a good thing if I don't want to be spiraling out of control all the time due to a lack of guide rails. Whenever I was off the rails, however, the game mostly turned into a pretty peaceful routing puzzle. Well, peaceful up until the moment where the catwalk simply lost collision. What? Okay. You see, in any other scenario, I'd say we have a problem here. But this is kind of fun. You see, the reason I was so excited about this evidently broken part of the chamber is because it gave me an opportunity to try something pretty cool that I came up with just then. The plan was to climb onto the scaffolding near the ceiling and jump off in just the right way to thread the needle into the exit elevator. Holy hell. Absolutely sniped that. Insane. Okay, I need the door to open too. Where's the trigger for that? There were two triggers for that, one outside of the elevator and one back inside. So as cool as it would have been to jump right into the transition for the next map, I did have to settle for activating the elevator anyway. Oh wow. Just for me, thank you game. Wait, I don't need to do this. I don't need to do this whole level. Yeah, so clearly the solution to this was to instead end up on the ceiling, take a minute to process the map upside down, and only then climb over to the exit catwalk. So that's where I came in from. Yeah, that's where I go. Okay. It'd be so funny if I could just walk through the door. Oh, it doesn't. It didn't suck me in. That is so anticlimactic. At this point in the game, we're deep into Cutscene City. The more cursed and janky mods often break horribly around this point, and this one was no exception. After struggling for a bit to plug Wheatley into the core transfer receptacle, I decided to just skip the map. It wasn't worth the trouble, and if anyone's keeping count, we're still only at one map skip, because everything past this part of the map does not count, and I am ready to fight anyone who disagrees with me. Now, that does mean that we're entering the old Aperture section of the game, which is famously much more open and unrestricted for movement gimmicks like these. I played it relatively safe at first, as simply jumping off of a wall with no clear goal would send me spiraling out of control. Once I made it to the first map with an elevator though, all bets were off. Okay, this is good. Make a save here. Jump. Big spiral. Hope. Pray for the best. Pray that we're gonna land somewhere on the wall. Anywhere at all. Actually, watch me just get right into the elevator. Wait, this brought me pretty much to the elevator. Can I just slide right into the elevator? Like, just under this thing? Oh, okay. You know what? I've got good control now. Pretty sure all of Old Aperture is going to be like this. And, you know, I wasn't far off. Because even if I wanted to solve these levels like you're supposed to, I'm not sure I could, as I seem to have gotten the testing track with blue paint as opposed to repulsion gel. So I went looking for a way around. I navigated myself around the first room, ending up right on the other side of the exit door. Then I climbed into the second room, only to realize shortly after that I could simply climb the wall to the exit here too. And I was about to take a very similar route on the next map as well, until I had the ingenious idea of walking on the dome surrounding the test chamber, from which I could then climb onto the elevator. That is the elevator. Can I just walk over to it? Holy hell, I think I can. Oh god, I'm out of bounds. Right, there was a hole in this map, wasn't there? Oh, okay, I am on the elevator shaft. Just have to walk down. The elevator is open. Can't confirm, heard the sound. Lost control for a bit, it's fine. Okay, wow. Old Aperture might just be completely dead simple. I wasn't going to exploit these catch-alls forever though. I did still enter the chambers when I felt it was interesting to do so. It's tempting as hell, but it is also less fun to just skip the entire map, because that is where the exit elevator is. I can just go there. But maybe let's not do that. Maybe let's just go through the inbound. What the? Huh? Buy more, sell, damn it. What the fuck? I'm blue. You're blue now. Everything seems solid, right? What the? Okay, yeah, it kind of makes sense that the crazy box itself would just not be present. I don't know why I expected this to be any different. The final solution for this puzzle actually hinged on the gimmick working with me, not against. As I jumped onto the exit platform, the cube slid off the button at the same time, meaning I essentially hit 2 birds with 1 stone. After that blue paint incident, if you were to assume that propulsion gel also doesn't work, you'd probably be right. It's not like we ever really tested that though, as my demons did win over on this one. Okay, oh god, I have such a temptation to just go straight to the exit. It's right there. It's difficult to resist, I will say. In fact, it is so difficult to resist that I will do it anyway. Do it normally? Doing it normally literally just involves walking along a route. Like, it's not like propulsion gel does anything, I think. If you do need some peace of mind, rest assured that we did test propulsion gel on the next map, and it did do the exact amount of nothing that I predicted it would. On this map, I once again saw an opportunity to make a nice thread the needle jump, and although it didn't work out exactly the way I'd envisioned, it still got me to the end, and it even brought the cube along with it, so, you know, there's that. The ending of Chapter 7 is very vertical, probably intended to showcase how far up you have to go to reach a modern part of the facility. For me, that just turned it into a wall climbing simulator. I did get to do a cool skip on the long elevator ride at the end though, by just flipping myself upside down. Oh, I clipped through the door. You know, this will be the one exception in which I will allow myself to clip through the door because, quite frankly, I do not care for skipping that cutscene. With the advent of Chapter 8 comes the introduction of the excursion funnel. You'd be right to assume that the way this gravity-defying mechanic is affected by a gravity-bending gameplay mod is unintuitive, to say the least. To put it simply, I found that when the pull of gravity is parallel to the direction of the funnel, gravity manages to win over. However, if I'm standing perpendicular to the funnel, it works exactly as it's supposed to. I didn't really expect this to add as much complexity to the puzzles as it did. In a lot of places, this meant actually planning ahead to make sure I can reach the exit while keeping the chamber solved. Stop the Box is another very notable chamber. Not so much because of the puzzle. The concept isn't anything unfamiliar on paper. You just have to get the cube on the button and walk over to the exit, which is only ever really a problem if the cube decides to not stay on the button for whatever reason. But like, why would it ever do that, right? Well, even though I could have spent another hour trying to nudge it onto the button from afar, I am very glad I didn't have to. Oops. Might have just screwed it. Definitely just screwed it. Yep. Yeah, I don't think I'm recovering from this. I mean, just for the sake of shits and giggles, we can see if this magically solves the chamber. Holy shit! What? The puzzles after that were a similar mix of trivial and borderline impossible, with Laser Platform having yet another case of an exit condition that I cannot afford to move. Luckily, on this map, there's a way to set up the cube just right so that it hits the laser while the player is next to the door. Yes! Yes! Woo! We made it! If I can just get myself to rotate towards the exit. Okay, that works. Wow. Okay. We're good. That worked out perfectly, actually. I thought I was going to struggle longer. Oh, the exit door is just open, really. This is too easy. Except there's no surface directly parallel to it. However, I can just climb one of these windows and jump off of it. Aim, aim, aim. Holy shit. I'm just too good. I'm just too good. Now, before we get into the climactic finale of the game, you might have noticed that this video has no sponsor. Instead, if you want to support what I do, you can subscribe to the channel or become a channel member, which gives you all sorts of exclusive perks like video previews or even early access to my mods. I've been holding back from enabling memberships, but if you want to see me do this kind of stuff at a higher quality and more regularly, it would help a ton. We're down to the final 4 maps at this point, and I wouldn't want to drag this out any longer than I have to, so let me just outline some key moments. The Faith Plates didn't work on Finale 1, unsurprisingly, so I had to roleplay Spider-Man once more. A large and boring part of Finale 2 could thankfully be skipped by walking on a wall. And on a side note, the pipe that was supposed to burst here simply didn't, though it's not like repulsion gel does much in the first place. Finale 3 was a bit more interesting. While I could have taken the funnel ride over to Wheatley's lair, I wouldn't have been able to exit the funnel, as my movement is actually much weaker than the force with which the funnel keeps me centered. Instead, I did some light parkour, made it on the roof, and from there I could tumble down into the central core room. I'm gonna get the conversion gel tubes burst, even though I'm not sure what that'll do. Oh, wow, okay. I guess the gel itself doesn't matter. This is just preset stuff. Yeah, because we don't exactly have normal gravity here, so I'm not sure how the bombs will behave. Oh, I guess good enough? Okay. Gonna jump down from here. Plug it in. Yes! Woo! Oh, I'm flailing around, but I plugged it in. I'm still holding the core. Okay. Just had to get rid of that for a moment. That explains a lot. There we go. Okay. I just need to find a way to get there again. Oh god, wait, that worked? Holy hell. Okay, I am gone. Been sent flying. But that worked. Okay. Wow. There we go. That is surprisingly consistent. Okay. Just the final moonshot left, I guess. Okay. One portal there. I don't know what to expect. I don't know what's gonna happen here. Ah, that's something.
Well, I'm still in control, and I have no idea how to fix this place. Oh, you had to play bloody
What? Oh, that. What? Shooting that panel worked. I didn't even have to shoot the moon?